We're looking up the street where my hostel is, Dream Home Number 1 in Vientiane, where I should be for at least a day. This is my major intersection that I base off of. It comes at an angle, as you can see, from that red light towards me. The main street going right in the direction those cycles are going. And up to the left, if we go up there 1 block, we get to another major street. It's about almost 4 o'clock already, my first day here. To be called Inpeng Temple, just about on the other side of the intersection from that red light we were just looking at. We'll go in and take a look at it. Of course, the thing that pops out is that little white building down there, but we'll go around the other side of this big building. Here a Bodhi tree, at least I think that's what that's called. I'm probably mispronouncing it as usual. One thing I've noticed is as we got closer to Vientiane, which of course is a large city, it may even be the capital of Laos, the temple's complex started looking much prettier, much more maintained, if you will. Interesting because all they've done is wash it with that tannish color. There's another one of the major entrance buildings, but notice how that nāga crawls out of that second floor, if you will. That's neat. And then here, looking at the temple from the main entrance, going to be pretty dramatic to look at. Let's get closer. We'll come back after this pan and take a closer look. I just wanted to see the grounds, well maintained here. Here the bell tower, 2 bells, 4 stories. Take a closer look there too. I've turned the camera upside down, literally, so that we'll be able to view these without taking my shoes off, just to walk inside this initial portion of it. Filials are interesting because their first impression is that of ice cream cones. It's interesting that aesthetically this front door is so sparkly that you can't make out the detail. Maybe we can by focusing in closely now. It looks simply like floral. Interesting portable nāgas. But a close-up of the drums. Notice the construction. I'm guessing these are very old drums. It may just be some ceremonial version of those larger boats that we suspect might be used in water parades. I wonder if there's any religious significance to the white versus anything else, unless it's a subtle reference to the white elephant, which is revered more than all else. And the dramatic 7-headed nāga. Guess I'm in the midst of tourist area now, would you think? Chez Joseph. And the Sommelier, the block further on, or less, we come to our next complex. This is bigger, but I'm not sure it will offer us anything novel. I'll walk around just to make sure and see if I can exit out down that end. Just as these photos reflect some of the work this monastery does for either ailing monks or others. Pretty drum tower, but nothing that seems to stand out. Very simple temple, almost extraordinarily so. Street is still another site, so off we go to see neighborhoods that are basically clean. Not being derogatory, it's more to say like a small breeze. It's just refreshing. This is a pretty little building with the gold on black. Nice touch. And this drum tower is pretty principally because of the wooden stairs, which are probably not all that old, but just add something to it. They look like they must have been in after the fact. Take a closer look at this detail on this large building. That's the third block down from the red light. You gotta know when we look at this kind of an entrance that we're looking at a different style, that's for sure. I just have not learned, probably never will, what that style difference is. And apparently there's no way to get inside, because I think it's also a school for young people, and rightfully so. They're protecting them against the crazies. So we did get inside a little bit. And this is the future of Laos. Of all prisons is conformity, regimentation, strict adherence to the rules. The presidential palace, I hope, parentheses, wish, close parentheses, he was doing more for Laos. This was interesting to me because it looks like a small apartment building, but nicely done. This is the presidential palace, although it looks more like a hotel. There's a pretty little shrine and its stand of wood just outside of what is a very nice and apparently under remodeling this wood carved facade. This is actually the Lao National Culture Hall, maybe the National Museum. What's interesting is this painting of the Plain of Jars. I have to check the American logo to see if it's the same. This is the heart of tourist country. I think I will stay maybe a day and leave the following day. This is Taylor Row, where you can get anything made you wish. The Embassy of Brunei, that block there, one of the wealthiest small countries in the world, at least one of the wealthiest dictators of information, culture, and tourism. I wish they'd do something for tourism. It looks like they got a nice enough building for themselves. Now at Wat Si Maung, although I think where we are is right where at the top of that triangular portion, down near this big street to the left that goes from the lower right to the upper left. Know what this incredible edifice is? Perhaps an embassy for some country. Some of these stupas someone put some real artistic effort into. This is fairly new there, but this older one here is pretty in a very authentic way. You have to trust me to get the name of this one later because I don't know where I'm at. Can't divine it from the map yet. Nothing extraordinary. Hard to tell what this business building is because it looks like at least the one on the left is lived in. Maybe the one on the right, I don't know. This building looks interesting because of what looks like wood carved roof edges, and I don't know if that's the case or not. And also the subtlety of that work in that triangular space. I'll leave it up to you to figure out what you think these little things are. Young monk and I had a little time for him to practice his English, which I always more than gracefully give. This building has the appearance of being old. Whether it actually is or not, I don't know. The stupa is built out of brick, covered with cement, which is all worn away. The looks of that is not important. The irony is, if someone comes in and repairs it, the restoration merit goes to the person who originally installed it. We may be right here in the center at this Wat. Behind these big walls, the French embassy played a big role in the history of this country. There's another religious facility just before I get to the point or junction of those two big streets. Not very interesting, although there's a very interesting complex that we're going to at the point. But the pink, whatever this is kind of interesting. So we're in for a celebration of some sort. Two people can carry this little device. Probably put a Buddha up in there and some offerings, and whether it's used in a national or local, I don't know. Right at the point down here, and it may be off this map, is monumental pagoda. Pagoda because you can go inside, if I remember correctly. And off to the left you can see still another complex back in there. Whether it's part of this one, I don't know. I suspect it is. Healthy man using an air compressor nail gun. So I'm at that site right in the center there. I can't be sure. It's either a center for these displays, or it is in honor of a celebration coming up. A bunch of birds for sale. One of the things that's common as a ritual or practice in Buddhism is you buy little birds and then you let them escape. You set them free. Looks like down here we're coming to a congested little area which might be the point intersection of those streets. And here across the street is a real big religious complex, which of course we have to go see. The little goodies made from some kind of flower. Looks like chrysanthemums, don't they? That and probably either bamboo or banana leaves. Coming through the gate, as I pan around, you'll see this is an important site. Here all sorts of critters abound. Stupa embraced and perhaps somewhat deflected at the top by this tree. I think it's classified as a Bodhi tree. A tree planted when this whole complex began, and is sacred then to this complex. Sweet incense smell of joss sticks abounds. An allusion to the great mountain in Buddha philosophy. And if you, or people in the past, put the mementos here, giving them merit. This will just give you a sense of the feel of the place. There's nothing particularly novel about it, except so much is here. Including this big draped Buddha, unless that's the mountain of Meru, I think it's called. Guess is that draped mountain facsimile is very, very important to this site's religious basis. This is an entry from a side street. Pretty flowers that apparently come from this parasitic plant. And what's equally interesting about this plant as I pan up it, not only the flowers, which are pretty, but up there further Up there further, those almost look like coconut. I don't think they are. It's interesting how pretty it is when those flowers disintegrate and fall. Okay, we are now at the pointy end of the juncture of those two streets, and I will pan back and get in here so we can see what there is. Looking back at that temple complex we were just in, but a very nicely maintained garden, and at night I suspect these wires indicate lights. And I saw on the avenue coming down lights wrapped around the trees that they probably put on at night. Of course, this is a heavily touristed area, I think, but it's also just plain pretty if that was their motivation. These are other flowers often seen in the markets and street vendors, sometimes selling them right on the streets to enhance the smell of the inside of your car. The thing is called chanlan, I think, and that's not a ball, it just looks like it. It's made out of bamboo, it's hollow, it's light, and the goal is to keep it in the air as long as you can, any way you can, using your feet. And here, probably one of the great leaders of Laos, whoever that might have been, an informal game of badminton without net. It's actually a very nice little park next to this facility that we were just in. Always love parks. Back up to our temple, hang a left and go right down to the water's edge, if in fact we can get to the water's edge. Cut down to the river, I think, and you may be able to detect just the faintest little red. That may be the remnant of the sun going down. Be the hotel, but get down near the water's edge for like an esplanade walk, I don't really know. Maybe what we're going to enter now. I would just call it a temple complex. Again, just a big structure, not necessarily artistically interesting or novel. It is lit up in a very pretty manner. And back on the other side of what on the map is called some kind of a canal, that's on this side of that green wall, are all those buildings. My guess is that those are a reflection of the cop-out of the government leaders for what could have been an interesting place for the public. Down there, I doubt, benefited the people of Laos. Finally, down here, we encounter a park. Not quite at the water, I don't think, but getting closer. My sarcastic comments embarrassed the government, and they put in a park between the time I said that and the time I walked a couple blocks to get here. I have to applaud that efficiency. This must commemorate some important figure from the much deeper past of Laos. And it looks like there is some kind of an esplanade way down there. I think I'll save that for tomorrow night. The bike path too. I'll go back and eat now. It's actually a pretty nice layout, befitting its capital. I'll save the experience of being up on top there for tomorrow night, but one thing it does lack are places to sit, except on the grass. Sun-friendly to old people. A free-form badminton is in. Hostel number 1, and it's probably anything but that. Sounds great, had great reviews, but I think they must be too old. Because the breakfast isn't that good, I think I will pay for it later today. And staff is not that good. Cracks in the whole building such that mosquitoes come into the room through the huge cracks that run vertically up through the corners. This came in last night, so consume some kind of destruction is going to go on here of some magnitude, I would guess. Plan for today is we're starting where the X is. We're going to go up that street that kind of curves up from the south up towards the northeast and wander, but we're going to wander through those back streets there a bit if we can to see what's going on there, and ultimately up to whatever's circled there, not sure what's up there. And then up to this, which is the Arc de Triomphe type of thing there, then back down this main street to that site, maybe over to this site here, which is one of those, I think it's called EXO. It means the removal of mines and so forth that America dropped on Laos. And then back to the hostel. Tomorrow morning I get out of here quickly to Saket. Interesting about this is the strategy for building your cement lintels. They put those literally trees up there in that configuration of that size and that spacing with braces at the top to hold the form. Then they pour the cement and move on up to the next level, same way. All filled in with rebar. The area where they sell all kinds of this furniture. These would be very nice over in the States. That looks flexible. Yeah, it is. That'd be very, very nice. These are the various little tables or chairs, really, that people sit on. Their Orientals are short and they're used to squatting rather than sitting on the ground. And that's what they use those little things for. Fancier version than the one we just looked at. Just for the fun of it, we're going to wander back into the neighborhoods. Classic is old design houses like this. In here, a big home, traditional building. Trash is piled up. Some of it not. A little lady burning some plastic on a grill to get rid of it. I talked with a young woman who was a teacher in a school teaching English, and they had to go to the administrator and complain about people burning it in the school because they couldn't teach because they couldn't concentrate. So they were getting headaches and so forth from smoking. The fume problems is for the health of these people as well as everything else is the incredible ignorance on all the most fundamental things, issues that most human first world people take for granted. This has no name in English unless the name is Smoke-Free Temple, which is the only thing in English over there. But we'll go inside, just pan about. Very pretty with the colors of that light orange. Green, gold. The number of heads on a nāga is indicative of either the overall importance of the building relative to the other buildings on site, or to this kind of very pretty use of colors, beautifully maintained. Cartoonish, but very pretty. The orange is particularly lovely, along with the yellow, framed often by the green foliage about. I noticed that much more effort goes into temples in this big city, just probably because it's got a bigger, more affluent constituency, I guess, but more detail to the nāgas. Very pretty statue. Lovely water feature. Of the waterways of Asia, really just sewers. Presumably when the rains come, it washes a lot of this stuff further down into this swill and then out to the oceans. And walk down a little side street. There's a little restaurant there, lady has This has got to be just for the locals. In these back streets just to see places. Girls on a cycle, the one in back is braiding the hair of the one driving. Way of note, the other day I had a long chat, as I indicated, with a girl from, I think it was Germany, France, who is graduated now as as an engineer of nutrition and food. This is where the focus of her is in France. And here, the focus has to be just simply getting us appreciation of how bad this terrible infrastructure is for your health. I believe it's just a rather simple, modern Chinese temple. A nice old building, but looks like a pretty quality building. Unfortunately, the sewer pipe comes right out of the front, so that kind of kills that ambience. But here's just an interesting building. Almost reminds you of something in Europe. Dramatic building. Don't know what company it is. Maybe we can get up there and find out. Briefly with a Japanese man who was searching for where he was trying to go. He advised me on how to get to where I'm trying to go, although I don't have a clue where I am. And I don't think he did either. Now discovered the right street thanks to that Japanese gentleman's advice. We pursue up this way to find that last name you saw on that billboard sign. We're either putting up or taking down those pretty lights for whatever the reason. So on reflection, I believe I came where my thumb is showing, around this way, down the street, along here, and met this man right about in here, or maybe down in here, I'm not sure. Walked along, came down to here, and found this main street. And here we're looking at where we're going. This is the edifice that we've been looking for, surrounded by some pretty impressive buildings, and I think this is a big oval turnaround, or turnabout if you will. The signs, I'm guessing, have to do with what I think is a emerging, impending, imminent celebration of some sort. Another slightly different perspective. Equally large, new, big buildings, and it just continues to impress me how governments, political leaders, can spend so much money on aggrandizing themselves and their environment, while the company that pays for it is fourth world and kept that way because of that. I think it's pronounced either Fusai or Tusai. Really just a big building. What is the purpose of these edifices? To make the country feel and its citizens feel important, worthwhile, loyal, patriotic? Or is it somehow impliedly designed to make the public feel like only powerful, reliable, security-creating leaders could afford to build something like this to memorialize their wars? I'm guessing there's a ticket to climb up, and I probably should do it so I can say I've done it. How many rooms in that administrative building are empty? How many are filled with nepotistic bureaucrats? They wanted 30,000 kip. Not much in US dollars, but it's a real good dinner here. It's like a grand plan where one boulevard goes off in that direction, one in that direction, and one in that direction. We're there. Buses come here because it's a great way to have an event that kills time. Many tour buses, they expect, at least right here. We have public transports. That's got to be a joke. There from Patuxai or whatever it was, kitty corner from it, is this, which I believe is That Four. It's interesting, and the guys in Thai walk around with jackets on. It's hotter than hell out right now. Almost park-like now, with this street running down to another major street, so we'll wander about over this way first. It looks like a building is being built over there, unless it's being remodeled. Hopefully we'll see something interesting in all of this. New temple structure being built. Perhaps a call to prayer. Maybe it's the last meal of the day, lunchtime, but I don't think so. This pretty, but pretty much expected. Temple complex. Or temple. The larger building, which is interesting because it looks like it's a cross, but of all equals arms. A stupa like this is important because buried underneath it in a vault are relics or copies of relics, which are just as acceptable, related to Buddha's life. They're a pretty bell tower. One benefit of monasteries, if you're in need, is there are toilets, and the public is welcome to use them. And I think I will. Guess we're not welcome to use them. They're all locked. Looks like we're getting ready for some celebration. The quintessential bag lady. Oh, I got that thing perfectly balanced, but you can see she's pulling hard with that. It's not much taller than Allegra. Find the electronics store with that lady in white, the young girl. She speaks English a little bit from her school, and I'm going to get my chicken noodle soup here in a moment with vegetables. The immodesty of we Europeans and Americans. I've seen a policeman walking the beat on this trip. A big old stupa encountered on my way back to the hostel. Almost all the cement that once was on it's off. There are a few celebratory tokens. This area inundated with French businesses, hotels, and so forth. I wonder if this architecture in any way at all has to do with their French Indochina period. This is a garden rocker. You notice that it's rounded, so it looks like it works on the ground, but it doesn't. It actually pivots right up there. Now exactly, where it pivots, I can't tell. It must have been going through that mountain bracket at some point. Yeah, then they lowered it. Yeah. It's a nice monastery complex, nothing astounding about it. It's right on the Mekong River, and across the river through that entryway you can see Thailand. It's one of at least two right in the immediate area. Kind of a pretty, what I'm guessing is either administrative or dorms or something like that. Although I don't see any monks. All around the perimeter are the stupas and maybe pagodas, but I don't think so, of those who wish to gain merit. Better be the dorm unless it, yeah, I think so, with the bicycles there. The bell tower. A little bit closer look at some of these more richly embellished little stupas than we've seen before. We've seen a few of them, but not quite a collection like this. Interesting to imagine who the people were that put these old ones in. Felt to be sufficient at the time, or maybe the resources were limited at the time. Those little cubicles or holes there for putting in offerings, I suspect, if not relics. It's interesting that somebody still puts things here. I wonder if the cigarette box and other things which look like trash are. and more of a collection of stupas and these little shrines on pedestals. Themselves replicas of temples. Let's see, is that something that's an offering or just trash? In case anybody should not know who he is, there's his picture. I think I just saw a hummingbird shoot about. Nope. Dragonfly. Interesting collection of 3. They're about the aesthetic choices. For a restaurant where I could get something hot. I like vegetables, but couldn't get anything that was stir-frying vegetables this time of day. But one of the standards, and I went over to that restaurant, but it's too Tony for me on a travel trip. So I came to some more noodle soup. This is not with chicken, but I had beef that I just didn't want that in it, or pork, or whatever the heck it was, dog. And I wanted vegetables, so I pointed to what one lady was eating, and that was with tomatoes, and I want tomatoes, and they bring me a whole bowl full of vegetables like that. Then you stick them in here, and that, because it's real hot, it kills absolutely everything. There's some soda water, which is soda Lao, and she ran across the street to get some for me. And here's this little girl making sure that I'm getting exactly what I want, right? Yep. What do you think?